Hey guys, it's the Doc. It's another beautiful Friday afternoon here in New York City. Again, we came down to Washington Square Park, which is just steps away from my New York City office, just to wrap up this week and process, all the thoughts and events of the week. And these are my thoughts of the week. So, I had a patient see me earlier this week. He's one of my favorite patients. He's a gentleman in his 80s, and he lost his son to malignant melanoma about a decade ago. I didn't know him at the time. I've only known him probably for the last 5 years or so. But I was examining him. I did a biopsy of a lesion on his face. And I was really just sort of palpating his whole face and sort of feeling for problem areas, because sometimes you can feel stuff better than you can see it. Did the biopsy. We're done with the exam, and he looked up at me at the end of the exam and he said, or at the end of the visit, and he said, he's like, "You're such a good doctor. If my son had seen you, maybe he would still be here on the planet." And listen, I don't know if that's the case. Melanoma is a very devastating disease, but that comment really touched me. Really touched me deeply. Because that's what it's all about. It's all about being the best doctor, providing the best care I possibly can for my patients. And sort of a parallel story. One of my buddies' dads, who's my complexion, was in Florida. Had a biopsy done on his face, and it was diagnosed as squamous cell carcinoma. Was going to have a surgical procedure done literally the next day. And my buddy called me and said, "Hey, this is the deal. This is what's going on with my dad. What do you think?" And I was like, "Don't let anyone touch your dad. Let me review the slide before anyone touches your dad." Long story short, his dad actually ended up flying up to New York and saw me. I did a biopsy. There was nothing there. I suspected that there was nothing there. I finally reviewed that original slide yesterday, and it was actually a misdiagnosis. It was diagnosed as a squamous cell carcinoma when it turned out to be something entirely benign. And it just got me to thinking of healthcare in general. There's many, many amazing doctors out there, but what's happening in healthcare now is, especially with the way health insurance companies are working and private equity groups getting into healthcare and just trying to maximize profits, a lot of mid-level providers, PAs, nurse practitioners, etc., are the predominant caretakers for a lot of patients. When really a medical doctor, someone with an MD, should be the ones administering care for patients. And I think the more that this happens, the more that mid-level providers infiltrate medicine, the more of these types of issues we're going to see. Now, I'm not saying there's not a place for PAs or nurse practitioners in healthcare. In fact, my PA, Nick, in my Long Island office, is an amazing provider. But I trained him for 2 years, almost 2 years, just directly under my wing to show him the way that things work for patients under the care of Mudgil dermatology and the care of our offices. And moreover, my hand touches every single patient that he sees. I sign every single one of his notes. I review the care for every single patient that he sees. And that's really what should be done. A physician's assistant is just that, a physician's assistant. A nurse practitioner should also be operating under the supervision of a physician, because there's just so much more training that we go through that allows us to troubleshoot potential issues, like what happened with my friend's dad, or potentially what happened with my patient's son. It's the more medicine gets diluted, the more corporate voices get into healthcare and are really dictating patient care with dollar signs rather than with what's proper healthcare for our patients. The more problems like that I just described we're going to run into. So those are my thoughts of the week. I hope all of you had an amazing week and are just gearing up for a restful weekend so we can just crush this week ahead. Let's get it.